welcome to episode 54 of Sound Pollution. Thank you again for joining me this week. Quick plea to all you wonderful listeners. Would you please like and follow me on whatever listening platform you are using? I can see that my downloads are increasing steadily, but not my followers, so that would be super helpful. Also, I am still looking for a co-host. If you think you might be interested in that, please send me a message on social media or the podcast email at soundpollutionpodcast@gmail.com. This is a longer interview, so I'm jump right into it. This week, we are speaking with Justin Grobbel, a musician from the California Bay Area. He is going to share with us a little bit about himself personally, his inspirations, writing process, and how he made a living through the pandemic. As always, we are going to discuss the stories behind some of his music and get a little advice. Please make sure to show this artist some love as usual. Click on those links below and show that appreciation. And on to the interview. All right, everybody, we are here with Justin, and I want to thank you for joining Sound Pollution today. And why don't you start off by telling my listeners, oh, you're welcome. Tell my listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Justin Grobbel. I live in the Bay Area, California. I'm a musician, singer, songwriter, producer, teacher. I have a wife, 2 kids, 2 boys, 8 and 14.
And my daughter's 15. Yeah. I'm there with the teenage years.
Yeah, it's I'm glad he's a boy because it's hard enough, but I couldn't imagine a daughter. But yeah, I primarily play music for a living, and I've been doing a lot more stuff from home. Trying to teach more, and especially the pandemic's it's kind of forced me into trying different avenues and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what's going on with me.
What got you? Well, actually, let me step back to the pandemic thing. You've had to try some new things, like musically. Are you writing with other people but far away from each other? I know a lot of musicians I talk to have tried that.
No, not a lot of that, but more of just trying to dive into unfinished songs that I had sitting around for a long time, and then just trying to record more of them and produce more and having people come here. I've been doing more with as far as collaborating with other people. It's been more of like playing the producer role and then, recording their music and all that kind of stuff. So, but it's pretty much the same as far as writing and, the way I go about, my own music. And that's just doing it by myself.
What got you interested in music in the first place? Was there like an aha moment for you?
Not really. I mean, my parents love music, turned me on to music when I was a kid. We're like a, pretty wide spectrum of genres and everything, like, from the Beatles to Frank Sinatra, from Led Zeppelin to Black Sabbath. I mean,
nice.
But yeah, but I guess my aha moment would be like when Nirvana came out. I grew up in the 90s, late 90s. Me too. Yeah, and so that, Kurt Cobain came on the scene. I wanted to be a rock star immediately. That's what made me get my first guitar, and all I want to do is play Nirvana songs. And then, then I started progressing from there and, branching out and finding new music. And obviously we mature and all that. And I still love that. You'll find like on my YouTube channel, I have a few Nirvana covers I do, and they're still one of my favorite bands. But
yeah, I was listening to them.
Yeah.
Nirvana is one of my favorite bands. Yes.
Yes, for sure. Like a lot of others probably have a similar story.
Yeah,
in our age group.
Yeah, they were the Beatles of our time.
Absolutely.
They just were.
They were so inspiring.
I still miss him. And then,
of course,
and then I had a conversation with somebody like right when I started the podcast, actually. And he was like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "I'm really sad because they just played Nirvana on the classic rock station, and I don't know how I feel."
Oh boy.
Yeah. I was disturbed.
I don't listen to the radio, but I'm sure that's probably going on. But hey, at least they're being heard.
Still good. Still good. I still did good. Yeah. They come on the radio, or Green Day comes on the radio, and my daughter's like, "No, we don't change the station when they're on the radio." And I'm like, "Yes, that is right.
There's hope yet."
We did good. So obviously Nirvana is one of your influences. Is there anybody else that stuck out for you, especially since, you're a guitarist? Was there a guitar player that you were just like,
Oh
this is
yeah,
amazing?
for sure. I'm a huge Jimi Hendrix fan.
Mm,
I love like, the kind of the different, spectrums of music, obviously. So I like to rock out, and then I also like, to play more folky, kind of poppy acoustic stuff. I guess singer songwriter style stuff. So I have kind of my favorites from those categories. And from the rocky, electric guitars, style would be more like Jimi Hendrix. John Frusciante from the Chili Peppers is probably my
mm.
overall favorite guitarist.
Yeah, he's good.
Um, yeah, he's amazing. And then, kind of from the acoustic spectrum would be more like I love Elliott Smith. And some people kind of get surprised by this, but I love Jason Mraz. Um,
He's an amazing lyricist. Are
he
you
is, and
kidding?
he's just an amazing songwriter, and he's kind of like my go-to for happy songs.
Hmm.
I'm kind of sway more away from that in my own songwriting, and kind of have a deeper kind of more, I don't know, I don't want to say darker, but like, I'm not happy go lucky as far as my style goes. But yeah, everybody needs some Jason Mraz in their life. So I'd say those are probably some of my biggest influences throughout the years.
So let's jump right into one of those songs. I really loved the strings in this. I'll Never Forget You. How did that song come about?
It's funny you should ask, because it actually started with the strings. Sometimes when I'm like having I'm having some writer's block. I don't really believe in writer's block. I feel like you can power through it, and but for lack of a better word and without getting too into it,
Hmm.
had a little bit of, like I was kind of like, fiddling around on the guitar, fiddling around on my MIDI keyboard, and I wasn't really coming up with anything. When that happens, sometimes I'll go into Logic Pro. That's the software I use, and
Right.
I'll just go through the loops, and I'll just see if a loop inspires me, like something. So I came across that loop. So I dragged the loop in, and it just started this onslaught of just like stuff coming out of me like I didn't even like knew was there. And that song literally came about in like 45 minutes, and I was playing things on the MIDI, and then I was adding in things on like my the guitar and bass, and then I was like adding loops, and just like this mesh of like all different kinds of things, like so. And then the lyrics and the singing were kind of the last thing I did. I just let the music dictate what I was going to sing, and the melody and all that. It's about loss and finding hope through when hope is the last thing that on your mind. So
Yeah, it's very
yeah.
fitting for
Yeah,
our
exactly.
lives over the last like 2 or 3 years. It's also that's a really pretty song. I really enjoyed that. I was like, those strings are so on point. Um,
Thank you.
You were in my dreams last night. I woke up dazed and rubbed my eyes. Your presence real. I thought I saw your ghost. Either way, you're in the stars, and you ain't never leaving this heart. Please visit me again. Grab my hand, pull me close. Hear me when I sing to your ghost. I'm singing loud, loud. I'm singing loud. Oh, I'll never forget you. I'm singing loud, loud. I'm singing loud. Oh, I'll never forget you. Days of lacking motivation, desperate for your inspiration. Ugly days when I feel so lost. Please take charge of this situation. Help me, God, with this liberation of my soul. Can't sing this on my own. Sing it with me loud, loud. I'm singing loud. Oh, I'll never forget you. Sing it with me loud, loud. forget you. In winter, when the rain falls, it won't let me forget you. Spring brings home, the leaves grow, I'll never forget you. I'll never forget you. I'll never forget you. I'll never forget you.
So you said you produced as well.
Yeah.
You produce other people and yourself. When did you get started doing that?
It was actually not something I really planned on trying to get into. It was kind of something I, just kind of fell into. Actually, it was something I was kind of forced into in the beginning because I wanted to get my degree in music, and in order to do that in music industries, not music theory, because I already have my degree in music theory. I went back to school.
So you have two
And
degrees.
I have
in
one in music
music
theory and one in
Look
music
at you.
industries.
Good for you.
Well, it's good to know as much as you can, So, so I went to music industries, and I really didn't know what I was getting into with music industries, but come to find out, it was a lot more interesting than music theory. Music theory, I was, falling asleep half the time.
I didn't even finish my first music theory class. I was like, I can't.
Yeah. It's not my, it's something that is really good to know, but for my style of music, I mean, it comes in handy every now and then.
Right.
But anyway, I started doing music industries, and they started telling me it was mandatory. I did these learn Pro Tools, learn Logic, and go and do these recording classes and multi-tracking classes. So that kind of got me into it, and I kind of by default started doing it because I had to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of got into it. I started digging it, and I'm like, hey, you know what? Instead of going to somewhere to record my music and paying somebody, I can do this myself.
Right.
So that was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I got all the equipment and got into it. And so now I produce my own stuff and trying to produce other people. And it's a constant learning curve though. And it's always changing and always updating. And, it's still a lot to learn, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love it.
And you're a teacher as well, because you just do everything, I guess. How did you get started doing teaching?
Kind of because of the pandemic. That's what really led me. I mean, I always had throughout the years, I've always had kind of a student here or there, somebody that knew I play guitar or I play bass or whatever, and just asked me, it was more of a personal thing, hey, can you teach me guitar? Yeah, sure, whatever, but I never took it serious and actually advertised hey, I teach, come on, bring your kids. And then I got a position at a place called Guitar Lena, which is in Brentwood, which is a guitar academy. And it was just right place, right time. The lady was pregnant and she was going to be out for 3 months. And I happened to give her my card in a parking lot. And she was like, oh, she called me a week later. She's like, can you come teach? I'm like, okay. So
sure.
I literally was I was there a week later. And I was teaching, and then I was like, you know what? I was like, when she comes back, I think I can do this on my own. It was kind of the recording thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? I should just start doing this, because I always kind of was a little, I don't know, I had tunnel vision. I was like, I want to get my music out there and I want to be a performer, because that's my, forte. That's my love right there. My passion is getting my music out there and being a performer. But I was like, maybe I should try these other things, because it's good to have different things going on. So I started teaching. I started putting out an ad. Now I have 6 students that one that learns drums and bass, and the rest are guitar.
Okay. So that brings me to my next question. How many instruments do you play?
Okay. So I can play probably about 4 different instruments, without really making myself look too stupid.
Okay.
Guitar is my primary instrument. And then if the emergency bass player and drum player and pianist were unable, I could be the emergency backup to the emergency backup. So
you are the in-case shit drummer and pianist.
Right. Exactly. I think I'm probably being a little too modest, but bass and drums I'm fairly apt at. And I give beginner lessons there. And I always tell my students, hey, if you want to really be Neil Peart or, Flea from the Chili Peppers, you'll have to go to a more advanced teacher, but I can definitely get them started. But I definitely go advanced with guitar, and then teach super beginner piano, just where the notes are, scales, and that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. What do you like about teaching?
First and foremost, I think that it's kids playing instruments nowadays has become really scarce. First off, so just to know that a kid is learning an instrument is pretty awesome. So I want to definitely be a part of like seeing more and more kids do that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at some of the stats, like guitar, guitar sales are down like 60% from where they
Really?
were. Yeah,
That's
it's getting
sad.
that scary. Yeah, it's getting scary. It's like kids are, they're playing on their, hitting buttons on the MIDI keyboard, which is cool, as a
Right,
tool.
yeah. Yeah.
But I'd like to see kids playing music and just learning instruments, and then it's totally self-gratifying when you like teach a kid something, or even an adult. I have a few adult students, and they dig it, they get into it, they come back, and after they practice it the whole week and for their next lesson, and they're playing it like way better, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really cool to see people progress and playing music.
And
Yeah.
this is one I'm just throwing in because this made me think if you couldn't do something in the music world, like if for some reason you couldn't, what could you do instead?
I would either be, that's actually a good question. And I already knew my answer the minute you said it. I would either be a zoologist because I love
Ooh,
animals,
yes, same. Yes.
or I would be a chef. I love cooking. So those are two things I would definitely fall back on. I was like, if this music thing doesn't work out, I think I could be a good cook, or the animal one is a little far fetched because I probably should have started, that about 20 years ago, trying
Right.
to get
It's
the
another
credentials to be able
degree.
to do that.
It's
Yeah,
another
exactly.
degree.
But I'd be the guy that fed him, or went and cleaned up after him, if you know what I mean, if I had to,
Right?
because I love animals so much. I'd even go as far as to do that if I had the chance. But yeah, those are the two things for sure: animals or cooking.
So
Yeah.
next song I want to talk about is Let It Out. I really
All right.
like the lyrics in that. And were you listening to like the Beatles a lot when you wrote that? Because I really felt it was had some McCartney feel to it. Tell me about that song.
um no, not that I recall, but maybe subconsciously some Beatlesque stuff was coming out, because they were definitely one of my parents' favorites. I mean, it was
Yeah, mine too.
probably the Beatles were on more than any other band growing up. But no, that was just kind of one of those songs I was just goofing around on the piano, and just came up with those simple chords, and
And it just came to
I,
you.
yeah, it just kind of came to me, and it's kind of funny because I was playing it and I was thinking, okay, this is simple, like I got to make it more complicated, and like, but I mean, really, what is it about that makes a song good? It's not about that. It's about just how it makes you feel. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just write a song about how, a simple beat and a simple melody can really, give you the chills, give you the goosebumps, and it's not something. So that's kind of like what the song's about, and it has a deeper more underlying meaning if I really got into it. But it's kind of more or less what the song's about, is just feeling the music, and how sometimes, I don't know if you get this, but I get this sometimes, that sometimes I have the line in there, sometimes they make you feel, more or less, I'm paraphrasing because I'm drawing a blank right now on my own song, but it says, sometimes songs bring you up, but some songs are sad, but they make you happy. It's like, it's weird. Songs that are kind of dark or sad or negative, kind of,
It's so funny
you
because that
like,
was the line that stuck out to me the most.
yeah, you like sitting in that sadness. I listen to Elliott Smith, and he kind of does that to me. And people go, I've turned him on to people, and he's definitely an acquired taste. And I
Right.
tell people, they're like, he's depressing. I said, you know what?
Yeah,
For
but you
some
have
reason, it makes me
depressing
happy.
feelings too. Like you have to process those and then you
Exactly.
can feel better.
Exactly. And it kind of makes you feel like you're not alone. Like, okay, I'm not
Hmm.
the only one that's thinking this stuff or feeling this way. So
So music
yeah.
is a type of therapy for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It always has been. I mean, you'll learn more about me through my music than you will me talking to me. For sure.
Give me another song to sing about the rights and wrongs, and tell a story you already know. Chords that you've heard before, they're bittersweet, but always gold. A melody, a simple beat to take you home. Home. Some make you wanna cry, some make your day, some lift you high, some drag you down, but you like being low. Sway to the waves of sound against your chest, you feel them pound, something inside is trying to get out. Let it out. How many miles have I walked? How many times have I taken the high road? How many times have I lost? How many songs have I sung? Have I given it all that I've got? I know I should be here. I know I should be here.
Hey everyone, there's a new season of Sound Pollution coming your way. I know it's been a really rough 18 months and we are not out of the dark yet, but I'm going to keep bringing you new independent artists, their music, and their stories, as well as some updates from fabulous musicians that have been here before. I will be introducing you to the occasional guest co-host this fall as well. Will I find a permanent partner for the show? If you're interested in being a guest musician on Sound Pollution or want to co-host an episode, shoot me a message at soundpollutionpodcast.com or soundpollutionpodcast@gmail.com. Be love and make some noise. Now, what's your writing process like? Because those two songs you talked about so far, it seems like it just kind of clicks together for you. You know, if you're getting stuck, you can throw on a loop and it'll pull you out again. Is your writing process the same every time, or does it kind of vary depending on your mood?
It kind of varies. Yeah. I mean, there's one thing I can say is I never sit down and go, I'm going to write this kind of a song. Like whenever I've tried to do that, and I always end up never really writing anything I like, and it all kind of just falls apart. You know, I don't really have like a way I do things. You know, it's like you said, you know, it's I might get inspiration from a loop, and then that kind of just snowballs into something, or I'll pick up a guitar and start, you know, tinkering around, playing some chords, maybe, you know, find a riff or whatever, and then just kind of start to build on that and just kind of feel it. You know, I feel like if I go into the songwriting process thinking too much, I'm already doomed. You know, like I'm already kind of probably have like this really crappy session and come away like, oh, feel like a loser today, you know,
You're
but
like, wasted
you know,
time today.
yeah. But if I go into it like, hey, let's see what happens, you know, and more times than not, you know, some serious garbage comes out because I'm, you know, like I always say, like, you know, if I was unexpectedly, you know, die or something, the first thing I want you to do is like delete my voice recorder on my phone, because there's about 1,600 recordings on there that are awful, but they're ideas. They're
Yeah.
ideas, you know,
Yeah.
and
It's
they're
easier to
important.
pull that out on your phone than it is to try to write them down when you're on the road.
Exactly. So it's like, you know, but yeah, I never go into it with like I don't have like a set way I do things. I just, you know, just kind of let it flow. But one thing I can tell you that I always do though, and because I've been asked this question a lot before, one thing I definitely do is I let the music dictate the lyrics. I never write lyrics before. I don't know how people do that. I'm really jealous people can do that, because I've tried to do that and it just I fail miserably every single time. So I always write the music first and then like let the lyrics dictate. I think maybe out of hundreds of songs I might have done that once or twice, and it wasn't
Okay.
even that great of a song.
Oh,
So
you're like, it just
that's
doesn't work
about,
for me.
yeah, that's the only like set thing I kind of stick to when I go into the song. I'm like, well, there's one thing I know I won't be doing is writing the lyrics.
See, and for some people, that's what I don't, it's different for everybody. Um, I had a conversation with someone not so long ago. They were like, music first and then the lyrics. I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. See, for me, I can't do that. I can't do that.
You have to do lyrics first?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm
Okay.
like, this is the mood. And so then it kind of goes from there. Yeah,
Wow. See
yeah, it's
that?
weird. It's weird.
Crazy. Is that a,
Or if somebody hands me music, they're like, write lyrics to that. I can do that. That I
wow,
can do.
really?
Yeah, it's stupid weird. It makes no sense. I don't know why.
That's just a just goes to show how, you know, the different creative minds work. You know,
Mhm.
it's crazy. Like I really just can't like get in that in my head and fathom that. Like I've tried. I've been like, I'm gonna put these lyrics to a song.
I'm gonna do this just because I want to see if I can.
Seriously. And
Hmm.
it always just falls to shit. I mean, it's just like garbage. And I'm like, okay, I'll just write the lyric or the music first.
What do you like more, writing or playing?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I guess if I had to choose one, playing.
Playing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like playing because when I go to play, it's like it's just fun. You know, it's just fun. I mean, I'm not up there frustrated and going, "What the hell am I going to do in this next part?" And I can't get past this thing. You know, I'm playing and just having a great old time. You know, I've never, you know, unless I'm having some technical issues or something. It's usually everything's set. I got everything down and prepared, and I just play and it flows. But the writing process it's hard. You know, it's fun and it's a passion, but it can be really hard, and difficult sometimes, and frustrating.
What advice would you give somebody who wanted to become a musician?
You know, first keep your options open. Like, you know, don't give up because you picked up a guitar and it wasn't your thing. You know, maybe that's not your instrument.
Right.
If you do end up getting a new instrument, don't fool yourself going into it thinking that you're going to be an expert the next week. So a lot of my students do that,
Oh yeah.
you know, or they come with that kind of mind frame, like, you know, it's going to be easy and all that stuff. I mean, to get good at an instrument, it takes a lot of hard work and dedication, and you know, you gotta put in the hours. You know, it comes easier to some people, but and then, you know, people that are like 1 in a million that are like just prodigies and just get amazing in 6 months is like totally unrealistic. So don't even, you know, like you might be one of those people,
Yeah.
but more times than not, you got to put in the effort. And you know, there's definitely like little hurdles that if you get over them, things get a lot easier. Like, you know, muscle memory when playing a string instrument or any kind of instrument, really. You know, just getting over those physical aspects of it and your body kind of adjusting to the weirdness of playing an instrument and, you know, that kind of stuff. Because I
Mhm.
always tell my guitar students, for instance, this is a good example. Like, you know, it hurts their hand or
Oh
something, you know,
yeah.
or hurts their wrist, you know, and I tell them like, just, and I've had a lot of, not a lot of students, but I've had a fair amount of students quit because they just didn't like that their hand was hurting or they were, you know, the way their fingertips felt and all that stuff. And I'm like, just get through that and develop some calluses and get your wrist and your hand used to it. And then you'll be amazed where to lead you. So just know that it's going to take some hard work. And if you're into it and stick with it, you'll get good. I mean, I think anybody can get good if they put the time in. You know, just follow your heart. And if you do end up getting, you know, start writing or you get into an instrument or whatever, just do your own thing. You know, don't let anybody dictate what you play, how you play, you know, just do your own thing, you
Yeah.
know?
Do you?
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to talk about Divided Sorrow. And now, and it said in parentheses it was live. So the track you sent me, that was live.
Right.
Okay. Well, it didn't sound live. And that is awesome. But what was that instrument that was just in the background? Was that just like the keys? Was it a synth? What was that?
It's kind of like a synthy sound. It's called a pad. It's like a
Okay.
synth pad.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of
that's what I meant, but the words were not happening. They were not forming in my face.
No, it's all good. Yeah, it's just a setting on my keyboard, and I had written that song with it's the normal like Steinway piano sound, and I wanted something a little bit more like electronic-y, or just kind of something a little bit more fuller, had more sustain. So I just hit that on and I started playing it, but yeah, I started writing that song, the little synthy sound, and it's actually it's kind of a combination of the piano sound and the synthy sound that I tried to add in, because I really liked what the end sound sounded like with the normal piano sound. Like the part in the middle where I play guitar was kind of something that came last minute, because I was like, you know what, I was holding out some notes and it was kind of getting boring. So I was like, I need to add something here. So I was like, hey, maybe I can be a badass and like hold this sustain pedal and have that ringing out while I grab my guitar. And yeah, I would be lying if I said I didn't do that part like 5 times in a row before I actually kept the one that's on there. The one you hear. Yeah, and actually I have a video on my YouTube doing it live, but that's the reason why I released it live. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I thought it sounded good, and I put it through my mixer, and I kind of, almost record it like you would like through your, software. But I just kind of, I was going to record it like, the whole recording process like you usually would in the studio. And I was like, this is pretty good. I don't know if I really need to go back and do that. This is kind of raw.
No.
Kind of I hit all the right points that I wanted to hit. So
it had almost an ambient, because I guess because it was live, there was almost some distancy sound to it. It sounded
the room
like
sound.
Yeah, it sounded like, and the tones, it was very, is meditative a word? I feel like it's not, and I sound like an idiot. But
I totally feel you.
That's where I was with it. I was like, oh, okay. And it took me a minute at first to realize how sad the lyrics actually are until the very end. And I was like, oh, you put a switch in there. Okay.
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that, because touching on a couple points you just talked about. First, I was going for that ambient sound. I used the perfect word. I like that droning ambient kind of soundscape thing that's going on with the song. As far as lyrically goes, I mean, I lost my dad like 2 years ago.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. But so it's kind of about him, just loss and everything. That's kind of been the subject I've been writing about. I think I got it out of my system. But I've been just like,
you just jinxed yourself.
Yeah, right. I've been just like writing and writing and writing about that kind of stuff, like for like the past 2 years, just to kind of cope with it. And I think I've got it out of my system. I'm like, okay, I think, I told my dad, I was like, hey dad, if you're listening, I got about 11 songs about, losing you and all that stuff. I think I'm done now. So we're going to have to be good with that. So that's kind of what it's about. But as far as the ending goes, like you were talking about, I kind of try to do that with all my songs. I'm not happy-go-lucky with my lyrics or, my songs, but I always like to have some kind of positive ending or twist. Like, there is light at the end of the tunnel, as bad as things get sometimes.
Tell me I'm not dreaming now. Tell me that you're reaching out for me. Tell me I'm not alone. Tell me you're coming home. That's what I really need. Your love, for you to tell me it's all going to be okay. And all this rotten pain that's driving me insane, it's all going to leave. If only I could feel your touch, see you breathe, hear you speak to me. then maybe I could finally sleep. Scratching at the walls of an endless tunnel, no light in sight. I step into my pitiful puddle. Chemical alleviation has me feeling rather troubled. I embrace collapse, I welcome it in fact. Bury me in my rubble. Questioning why the tears in my eyes, hard to decide. To live or to die, mind on divide, soul on high, high. So I turn and I wave as I walk from your grave. Suddenly the sun pushes the clouds aside.
Do you have any upcoming shows or anywhere you're playing in the near future?
I'm going to be playing at the Favalora Wine Tasting Club that's in Livermore. But yeah, I got a couple shows going on there. I have one at this place called Crown and Crow in Brentwood, and another at the Cocoa Wine Company. And it's been a little tough getting shows with COVID. I was on a roll. I was playing festival at the after festival, and I had a lot of momentum going. And you know, because I was in a band for a really long time in my 20s, and then I had my son when I was 30, and then I kind of ditched the whole, you know, played personally for myself all the time and kept writing, but, you know, didn't really want to do the rock and roll lifestyle or even pursue it, you know, because I didn't want to miss out on my son growing up. So I kind of, and both my kids, but, you know, my other son, he was, you know, I met my wife, he's my stepson, my older son. And but so he was a little older. But I mean, my other son, Aiden, who's 8, and Sebastian is the older one. He won't forgive me if I don't put his name out there.
He's like, say it.
Yeah, he's like, you didn't mention me, Dad.
You just said the older one.
I know you said Aiden. But anyway, so long story short, so I kind of picked this up like a couple years before, COVID hit and all that. I was getting some momentum and putting out some songs, get my YouTube channel rolling, get my Spotify, and then, boom, of course, Murphy's Law, like pandemic hits. I was actually teaching music production at DVC when it hit. And I had a full class. I had my first full class, and so now I'm just venting about that happening. But
it's all good. Everybody does it.
Yeah. So now that it's like coming back to me now, I've made friends with it. Now it's coming back to me talking about it. And,
you're like, oh, that he should not be mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm trying to get back to these places. Half of them, places that I usually play. I used to play Freight and Salvage, which is like a national act place. A lot of great, people play there. Jason Mraz has played there. A lot of really good musicians. Hers played there. Jack Johnson's played there. I've done some shows there. Yeah. And it's a really amazing venue, but they're not doing live shows yet. They're just doing virtual shows and all this stuff. So yeah, I'm trying to get more live shows. That's kind of like what I really love doing.
And do you have any social media or websites that you want to plug real quick?
Yeah, I actually just launched my website for the studio, and it's JG Home Studios. My initials, Justin Grobbel, jghomestudios.com, and you can go on there and check out the studio and read a short little biography on me, and just kind of get a feel for what I do, and then has all the links in there to Spotify and Apple Music and all that to go check out my music. And then, I'm on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, all those, music platforms.
Well, Justin, I wouldn't want to take any more of your time. Thank you so much for being on the show. Make sure you send me information as things start opening up in your world, and maybe we can have you on again in like a year and see where you are.
That would be great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And that sounds great. I'm excited to watch your channel grow and see what you have coming up next.
Man, I appreciate you. Have a good night. All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening to Sound Pollution this week. I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you again for stopping by. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to this show on any of the listening platforms you are using and social media as well. And again, if you're interested in being a co-host, send me an email at soundpollutionpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much, Justin, for being on the show. I appreciate you, and I hope we get to touch base again around the same time next year. I want everybody to get out there, be love, and make some noise.